What's up, everyone? Andre here, along with Jake, Joey, and Don, to discuss our impressions of the Nintendo Direct now that's 48 hours later, or what, 55? I don't know, I can't count. Somewhere in that 2-day range. In any case, we've had time to think and reflect on the Direct, and we wanted to just go over our overall reaction. Like, was it really as bad as it seemed in the moment? Are there any announcements that maybe are better now in hindsight? And just go over everything. Plus, we have Don here, who wasn't there for our prediction, so I want to get Don's impression on everything. And yeah, chat, we want to hear from you too. What did you all think of the Nintendo Direct? Let us know as we go through this. Also, as we go through this, I want to do a quick sound check, make sure we all sound okay. So we'll do a quick sound off for everyone. Jake, real quick, you had your video earlier today about your your redirect, almost, if you will. How was that, putting that together?
Was that me? I thought that was a community effort. I did not. No, it was fun. It was fun to put it together. I feel like direct good, direct bad. I'm just having fun. You know what I mean? It's like a direct is always a fun time.
Yeah.
I think we got to get as much out of it as we can. But I'm feeling good. I see some people in the chat saying that it was funny. Thank you very much, chat. Check that out if you haven't already. But I'm excited to talk to everybody else a couple days removed, because I feel like things do start to set in a different way.
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, Joey, you were you were one of the people that Jake's final joke of the of his redirect was. I'm liking this redirect term now, by the way. That this redirect kind of poked fun at being a huge Metroid fan. How are you feeling now, 2 days later, with having no Metroid news from the Direct?
Right. Even if Metroid ended that show, I still would have thought it was a mediocre Direct.
Okay.
It was just, there just wasn't a lot of variety in the game announcements. I felt like every headline after headline, most of them were just like, oh, that game looks the same. That game looks the same. That game looks the same. And the big announcements that were made, it's great for Fire Emblem fans, great for Pikmin fans, and of course, great for Zelda fans. But even then, we didn't see like much of Pikmin, and we definitely didn't see as much of Zelda, even though it was more than Pikmin, way more than Pikmin, of course. It was still nice to get that title and release date, though. So I just expected more from this Direct after waiting 7 months for it,
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. There was that big gap between, significant directs, or the primary directs, Nintendo Direct Primes, if you will. But I think one potential thing that's worth pointing out is, I think us three perhaps aren't, maybe Jake more so than the rest of us for now. I'm sorry, not including Don in this. We haven't been like huge Fire Emblem fans, but I know Don has been. Don has historically been a huge Fire Emblem fan. So Don, what was your perspective on the Nintendo Direct?
I thought it was alright. Like, it was an alright Direct. Even as somebody who likes Japanese games, I thought that the variety was kind of lacking in some ways. Like, there was a lot of farming sim games, to different degrees, mind you, but there were a lot of them, and I wish they could have focused their efforts on a bit more variety, even on the Japanese end of things. But overall, there were some highs for me, and we'll get into those in a little bit. But I might not be as negative as some people are, but at the same time, I also realized it wasn't like the greatest Direct or anything.
Right, got it. Yeah, I think you both touched on a couple of points that I want to circle back to. Real quick, though, chat, how are we sounding? Is everyone sounding okay? Can you hear everything all right? Joey, you're such a troll. Such a troll, Joey. I just want to make sure that we're all sounding good. Okay, we are sounding good. Awesome. Thank you, chat. Appreciate that. So, yeah, I want to... Both of you Joey and Don brought up the point that there were a lot of like similar looking games here, whether it was JRPGs or farming games especially. And I don't know if any of us are really like huge on that genre, even though like I'm a big, Stardew Valley fan. I loved Harvest Moon back in the day. Which actually, what's funny is the Japanese Direct actually had even more farming, because they're getting Harvest Moon 64 on NSO, which we're not, which sucks, but that game was great. But looking back now, in the moment, I was fairly disappointed by this whole thing. I thought, it just didn't flow well. Like, I don't know, it didn't like keep the energy up. But when you look back on it, I want to go over some of the announcements they had here. We had a new The Legend of Zelda trailer, now with a title reveal being Tears of the Kingdom. I keep on calling it Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom.
I keep on calling it Tears of the Sun, like that Bruce Willis movie.
I have not seen that. Tears of the Kingdom with a release date being May 12th, 2023. That seems like big news. Pikmin 4 is real. Pikmin 4 is real. That's a big thing. It's still being made, not canceled. It exists. We saw a little bit of it. We got a brand new Fire Emblem game, as I already touched on. That's big. We got a brand new, well, mostly new, quasi-new Kirby game. Another unexpected Kirby game in the form of a remake of Return to Dreamland, with a new art style, revamped DDD, and a few other, new features, I'm sure. We have a new Fatal Frame, or again, another remaster that was only released in Japan, so technically new for most everywhere else in the world. We got Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pack news, freaking GoldenEye coming to NSO. Then we got, Battle League updates. We got a new Bayonetta 3 trailer, new Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope trailer, Nintendo Switch Sports Golf update, including a survival mode. And that's not even counting some of the other third-party announcements, like It Takes Two coming to Switch, Tunic port coming to Switch. When you lay it out like that, doesn't that sound pretty good? What?
Octopath 2. Octopath 2.
Yeah.
That's Octopath 2 is like my game of the direct.
Right.
And I think something that happens, though, is that when we get a couple of days out from the direct, we start to look at it as a collection of the announcements rather than a presentation.
Right.
And that's what happens in these. You know what? Maybe it was better than we thought. It had Zelda, it had Pikmin, it had this, but the presentation was still bad.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I really kind of want to talk about right now, because when we talk about was a direct good, was a direct bad, are we saying were the surprises in it good? Was the collection of games that were featured good? Because when you say, like, okay, we got the sequel to the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, that showed up. But that is a game that, they ended their direct with a game that, I made this joke in my video, already announced, and everybody already knows they're gonna buy. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really bring something for me that was like, oh, here's a new layer of this game that I can think about in my brain now. Breath of the Wild, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, exactly the same in my mind as it was 3 days ago. Right. And I feel the same way about Pikmin 4, a game that was technically already announced, same spot in my mind as it was 3 days ago. So when we talk about this presentation, sure, these things were there, but was the way that they were presented good? And the thing I always fight with Joey about is, do we want right. Do we want Nintendo Directs, or do we want singular YouTube Twitter drops? This did not make the argument for a Nintendo Direct. This, for the things that a Nintendo Direct is supposed to do, and what it has the opportunity to do, to talk about games more, to put eyes on games that you otherwise wouldn't have seen, that did not happen here. And if anything, we were pushed further away from games that we wouldn't be interested in before.
That's, yeah, you raised a lot of interesting points there, I think. I mean, I think ultimately part of it is, I think there's a few issues at play here, Jake. And the key one is, announcements versus presentation. You look back at the list of announcements, some of them sound pretty darn great, actually. Yeah. But then there's the fact that is a separate thing from the presentation thereof. And in this case, I think the pacing was off. They had 3 highlights reels, largely consisting of, JRPGs and farming games. Not entirely, to be fair. And I think that's where, the subjective nature of it all really comes into play. For me, I'm not a huge JRPG and farming guy, so those parts were almost a consistent disappointment. But if you are about JRPGs, like my good friend Megan, who replied to my tweet about the direct being a disappointment, and she's like, what are you talking about? That was great. I love JRPGs, and I get that. Like, that's awesome. If you like farming games and JRPGs, that's right up your alley. And that kind of speaks to the inherent problem of making a direct or presentation. There's no way it can ever appeal to everyone. There's no way you're going to make everyone happy. That's just an impossibility. And in this case, JRPG fans and farming game fans are eating well. But for the rest of us, people who aren't super into those, there is that. But on top of that, though, I think even beyond that, is just the pacing of it all was a little bit weird. The Pikmin Bloom segment really kind of like derailed it for a while. And then I feel like, for me at least, almost every one of those announcements, most of the big announcements, has a but attached to it. Jake, you kind of touched on these already. Tears of the Kingdom, they didn't show, Tears of the Kingdom looks awesome, but they didn't show much. Pikmin 4 is real, or Pikmin 4 exists, but we kind of already knew that. Like, it's not a brand new announcement. It seemed like it was existing on some level. brand new Fire Emblem exists, but it was leaked. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, but the art style is a little weird looking. Maybe great, it's just a little different. And I think that's kind of it. Oh, and GoldenEye. GoldenEye's here, but again, that was leaked. And it kind of speaks to the era we live in now, like, where leaks aren't Nintendo's fault, really, and they still factor into the expectations and our impression of an event as well. And I don't necessarily think they were an overwhelming part of this direct, for myself at least. But we did have those rumors going into it too that just didn't happen. Like the Metro Prime Metro Prime remake and the Zelda remakes as well, or remasters. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of like a confluence of a variety of factors here that makes it hard to pin down exactly one thing as to what went wrong with this direct, if for those who thought it wasn't great. But I do think like the pacing is probably the biggest issue.
I will say though, I am very much into farming in JRPG games, and that's why I enjoy Direct a bit more than others did.
Right.
But it's also, I think the pacing still fell off regardless of that. And even within the wider scope of JRPGs, there was some weird stuff there, like the Tales of Symphonia remake, which is, I think, basically based on the PlayStation 2 hard-coded version, not on the GameCube version, which was 60 FPS.
I think so too. I noticed that too. I thought it was so weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like, why does this bit of a slapdash port need a spotlight?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a very much beloved game, and it should get the respect it deserves, but this is not how you're supposed to do it.
Don, like you though, I'm also consider myself a fan of JRPGs, and I like the genre too. I've been out here enjoying Disney Dreamlight Valley. There's a little farm game for you. Yeah. And even so, I kind of felt that the games that they presented there were not only in the same genre, but in such direct competition with each other, and presented in a way where they didn't really do a great job of saying, and this is the one where you... And I I needed that a little bit, because it was like the one that jumps out of my mind to me was the Story of Seasons game, because I thought it had the best look and I liked washing the cow.
It's also a remake, but yes.
It is? Oh dear God.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so,
there was a lot of ports there. Like the most original one that was there was Harvestella, and I played the demo. It's really good.
Cool.
But you need to be kind of convinced by trying it in the first place, and I'm not sure if the trailer in this direct didn't necessarily did a good job of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this direct felt it just felt a little different. I think it just hit a little differently than some of the bigger ones have in the past, and I think it was partially because not just the large amount of balance toward JRPGs and farming games, but also it felt like there was kind of a lack of anything like of much in the way of substantially new content. A lot of it is stuff as we knew before, and we kind of did expect this to a degree, because we had talked about before, like, what more is there to announce in the near future? We know Nintendo has a ton of games already coming up for this year, and then we knew of Zelda next year, but not much else beyond that. And we knew Nintendo was keeping it relegated to just winter of this year and early next year. So it's like, what more can they announce here? And as it turns out, not a whole lot in terms of, again, brand new announcements. And even the brand new ones like Pikmin 4 were, again, things we kind of knew about before, but I'll give them that because, everyone kind of expected to be canceled. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just a little bit too little, too spread out, in a presentation too long to maintain it all. And I think, Jake, kind of to your point you were saying earlier, like, had they just been Twitter drops, I think the overall reception might have been better, but then on every freaking tweet Nintendo makes, you're going to have, where's the direct? Why wasn't this in the direct? There's no winning. There's really no winning in that case.
Yeah, I hear that, definitely. And I do think that there are some games that would have really benefited from that kind of reveal or announcement. I hate to say it, but like, dang, did they chop the legs off that Pikmin 4 reveal? Chop the legs off of it by having that Pikmin Bloom segment and Miyamoto and doing, like, just totally took all of the air out of the room.
More like Pikmin Doom.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
What doesn't help with Pikmin Bloom? It's a passive game. Like, it's not a game like Pokemon Go that you go out of your pocket to play. Like, you activate it and put it back in your pocket. So them doing like a 2.5 minute explanation of Pikmin Bloom, it was like, God, stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw some people say like, "Hey, I didn't know about Pikmin Bloom," so that was kind of a helpful presentation. And I'm like, it's still not direct material. Like, post a trailer for it on your YouTube channel. Post a tweet. That's not. This isn't direct material.
It feels insidious to me.
Yep.
It feels the inclusion of Pikmin. I know how that sounds, but it's like, if I'm being totally honest, this free phone app getting this ad with no new content, no expansion, no reason for it to really be there. A few days ago, I was watching that Disney Marvel Games presentation, and they were talking about how they're gonna do a very similar to Niantic style Marvel phone video game, and I'm like, oh, okay. This is a business decision. That's why this is here. And I think more than the usual direct, that feeling of, oh, this is a business decision, just like permeated, because I didn't get that sense of like, here are these games that we love and we are excited about and we are here to tell you why they're awesome. It was like, hey, here's Fire Emblem with the protagonist designed by the VTuber designer. And here, that's real. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a fact. Like, even games like that, which like new Fire Emblem, I'm there day zero, can't talk me out of it. I don't think I really like the direction that game was going in for the franchise. So it's stuff like that where it's just like, guys, like miss. I don't know. Oh man, I gotta stop
to me,
yeah.
it's a bit different. I like the new direction of Fire Emblem because it looks more colorful than Free Houses, at least.
Sure.
Because Free Houses was a lot of gray. Like, it was a lot of gray and sadness along the way. And I still very much enjoy that game. It's one of my favorite games on Switch. But if you want me to buy something new in the franchise, I think a different direction actually helps a lot.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm not a Xenoblade guy, so I can't really speak to it in any case.
Fire Emblem,
Fire
Andre,
Emblem,
get it together.
I'm trying to. Sorry, all the JRPG things like mixed
I just
together
love
right now.
this.
I'm trying to fix this overlay issue because hold on,
okay.
check this out. Well, you're probably not watching it. Oh wait, there we go. Yeah, it's fixed now. There was a transparency issue, so I was totally
That was beautiful.
It was
I think that moment was just underrated so much. It's like you're talking about basketball, and I'm like, I'm not into baseball. And it's
that actually would be how my sports conversations
Maybe
go.
talking about Fire Emblem. I'm so excited for this game. I've already been delving into way too much. I'm working on a analysis for it. Like 5 pages deep, and I'm still experiencing like new stuff
you
about
say
it.
Mini analysis, and you're 5 pages in.
I didn't say mini, but yeah, I've already 5 pages deep.
I thought
in
you
it.
said mini. So okay.
Yeah. But it's like it follows very much like more classic elements of Fire Emblem by also like mixing all those other characters. But like the weird mixture about that still is that some of the characters actually use the proper weapons from their game, and some use the weapons from their Fire Emblem Heroes designs.
Huh? That's a surprise.
It sure is.
It kind of. I think it speaks to the success of Fire Emblem, like that they're treating it as a proper entry in the game. Well, like Nintendo is Mario Kart Tour, effectively. So,
Right.
which I guess is nice if you're a fan of those games, especially in an age when Nintendo's dropping some of the other mobile games they have, like was it Dragon? What's it?
Dragalia
Dragalia
Lost.
Lost.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
of course, Dr. Mario Mobile before that, Dr. Mario World. Real quick, though, I want to circle back to something when Joey thought you said mini, but it gets into the idea of it reminded me of like Nintendo Direct minis, and now I'm thinking of how much like branding and expectation management kind of matters, and like had this been a Direct mini, had it been shortened by a half or a third, had they cut out some of the filler, I think this has been much better received. Like, had they announced, people have been disappointed it wasn't a full Direct, obviously, but if we knew what we're getting ourselves into, that like, hey, don't expect anything like, super huge here, but then they come out with like Zelda release date, Zelda title, some of these third-party ports, GoldenEye, like, people are going to be more excited for that, I think, and more forgiving, and the pacing would inherently be better, because you're getting less of the redundancy with all these similar-looking titles. Now, I'm sure behind the scenes it's difficult to make those decisions, like, which game do we give preference to? I don't even know how that would work, but, as a fan, I think it would have been better received, had it been shorter, quicker, punchier, less filler, and just knowing that not to expect much going in.
We talked about this a little bit before, but I also thought that if in their little description where they said we're focusing on winter, blah, 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 if they, in the branding in some way, shape, or form, mentioned Tokyo Game Show and
Right.
said this is connected to TGS, I think that would have made all of us go, okay, I know, I totally got what to expect here. And then every little announcement like Pikmin, Kirby, those kinds of things, NSO, I think those would have been extra little cherries on top of our TGS meal. Yeah.
I mean, I always expected the September Direct to fall around Tokyo Game Show, so me, that's not really a surprise.
Yeah, but you're pretty well connected to the Japan space as well. Like you're pretty on top of that, and whereas a lot more casual fans may not be.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to forget that. Oh yeah, TGS is happening literally right now. Like I was caught by surprise seeing that. Oh, people are playing It Takes Two on Nintendo Switch already in Japan. I'm like, whoa, I forgot that was that soon.
And that's the thing. The connective tissue is totally there. We saw trailers come out for games in this direct, and you know what they're called? TGS trailer. Why wasn't it's weird to me that it wasn't made known, especially since in the past I think there probably has been TGS branded Nintendo stuff in the same way that they've done like E3 things. And to me it's less about it being known that there's a connection there, but more about like that tells me something about the kinds of games we're going to see. It's games that they have to bring up because they're going to be on the floor at TGS or have some kind of presence there. And then I know, okay, Metroid is not showing up in the TGS Direct. It's not. It's, so yeah.
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 So I mean, I know that crushed Joey that there was no Metroid here. So I guess Joey, for you, because there were the rumblings, of course, going into this that Metroid may be here, the Zelda remasters might be here. Like as a fan as well as a journalist, like it's hard to ignore these seemingly concrete rumblings. What how do you feel that may have affected your perception of the Direct? And what do you make of that in general, like in an overall sense? Like, do you think leaks are good or bad for Directs or in general?
I'll tell you, I'm never going to trust leakers ever again after this.
You've been burned. Yeah, too many times.
Yeah, seriously. Those leaks kind of did make sense to me because it's like it's been 7 months since the last Direct at that point. They skipped having an E3 quote unquote Direct. You'd think they'd have big announcements at this one, like a Metroid Prime remaster, like those Zelda ports finally coming to Switch, which why aren't they? The Switch is over 5 years old. Why are they not on Switch yet? And you'd think that these would make sense regardless of if they were leaked or not, right? Metroid Prime's turning 20 in November. Like, there's no better time, right? Theoretically. And it's just you keep getting burned and burned and burned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if we know Nintendo a little bit, they might just announce them in October, and they're randomly in 2 weeks. It's available on the eShop.
Yeah, that'd be kind of strange, but also kind of totally a Nintendo move. I know they did that. Have they done that with anything else besides 3D All Stars? Because that's the only time I've ever recalled them announce the game, or at least a collection of games, and release them like 2 weeks later.
There have been like small things on the eShop.
Yeah,
like Kirby games. Yeah, smaller
Yeah,
Kirby
a Metroid
titles.
Prime remaster ain't small. I'm gonna tell you.
No,
that.
it's not. That's probably not a shallow drop. That part will be at retail as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love for them to, and this is just me getting my hopes up, which I refuse to do ever again. It would be nice if on the anniversary they make an announcement there, even if it's not coming out on the anniversary. Like that would be cool, but I refuse to get excited about anything ever again.
I think something interesting now that I'm remembering is months back we had a live stream discussion talking about if there would be and if there needed to be an E3 Direct.
Right.
And in that Direct, I remember saying no, because we already have a bountiful end of the year. We have a filled schedule. So if they're gonna announce games, it would either be getting in the way of these other titles, or like taking attention away, or announcing something so far out that it doesn't make sense to me to be like, we still got to get through Splatoon, Pokemon, etc.
Yeah, like Pikmin 4 or Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom now.
Exactly. I think we can put Breath of the Wild over in its own separate box because of when that was announced and kind of the way that has to be treated. But yeah, I mean, like, we look at what was announced from Nintendo yesterday, and it was the Fire Emblem game, which comes out in January, and Kirby, which I think comes out in February.
Yes.
So the March?
No, yeah, no, February.
February.
Yes.
Okay. So like these are kind of the spots that we are playing with at the moment. I would venture a guess that Pikmin probably comes out before Tears of the Kingdom, but maybe that's crazy. I just can't imagine that. Oh god.
My
Oh,
problem,
dear
my
God.
problem with it is that they showed so little of
Yeah.
it.
I know.
That
But
I'm not even sure where to place it in the 2023
Yeah,
calendar yet.
it's impossible to say. My
Yeah.
gut reaction is probably gonna be after Zelda. I think it's
I
probably
think
be a
so,
later
too.
title
Yeah.
in the year.
Here's what I think too. Here's what I think they should probably do. They're probably not going to do, but I would rather Nintendo not have a general direct again until after Tears of the Kingdom comes out. I'd rather they just focus all their efforts on the first half of 2022, 23. What year is it? 2023 lineup, and just not even tell us anything about their lineup after Tears of the Kingdom, and just give us an E3 blowout direct with new announcements. And that's probably I think that because I want them to just like keep things close to their chest and like get things ready for a actual good direct, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I think part of the problem is just like the inconsistency with like directs and timings and when is there one, when isn't there going to be one, is it even worthy of having one now? And I almost wonder if it might be better if Nintendo just had like a set schedule, like, hey, there's always going to be this, you know, like you can count, like announce them like, you know, a year in advance. It's like, hey, here's our schedule for the upcoming year. We have a direct here, here, and here, and that way people aren't speculating constantly. You know, we may better know, you know, I don't know. I think it may just better help manage expectations. I don't know. I think
I say that. I think I say that because like I don't want them to feel, because I felt like this September direct was an obligation, you know, for TGS, and I don't want them to feel obligated. I thought that's why they didn't have a direct over the summer too. They had the partner showcase, of course, in the game focus directs, but no general direct because I thought they didn't do it because there was nothing ready to be announced. So if they can just not have one in February next year maybe and get more things ready to be announced in another direct. That's what I'm thinking too, especially just after watching this mediocre direct this September.
It just sounds like Jake has something to say.
I feel like even if you have the games, even if you have the announcements, I do not trust them to put on a good Nintendo Direct at this point. I don't know. I understand what people want in their minds, which is the memory of that PlayStation E3 conference where they revealed The Last Guardian and Final Fantasy VII Remake and did all that stuff, and it was awesome. And it was like, oh my god, game after game after game. And you can't do that every time. And I also just don't think it makes business sense to do that every time. I think it makes way more sense to do okay, this game's coming out in 3 months, now we talk about it. And as a consumer, I kind of like that more because I like to hear about games that are real, not games that are Pikmin 4. And I think a lot of the times we get caught up in the dream. Okay, yeah.
To be fair, Pikmin 4 has been vaporware since 2016.
Yeah, that one is a weird case, but I kind of agree. Like, people didn't expect it to exist at this point.
Yeah.
So the fact that it does, that was the most surprising thing. But I think it is broadening the scope, I think, of Jake's comment here. And I think I didn't even touch on it earlier here, but I think my biggest issue is with the direct. I did touch on it a little bit. My biggest issue with the direct is it felt kind of shallow. Like, for a game like Tears of the Kingdom. I keep on saying Tears once again. Tears of the Kingdom, which we've seen multiple mini trailers of, in the Pikmin 4, a game that, you know, we've been hearing about in some form, or, you know, starting 7 years ago. It's like, show us a little bit more. I want a little bit more to chew on, you know? Like, if you're gonna string us along for that long, give us something a little bit more impactful, and a title and release date isn't quite enough. And the title thing, too, for Tears of the Kingdom was such a weird thing, because it was supposed to be a spoiler, but they didn't show anything more this time that would warrant that disclaimer, and it makes me think they didn't have it ready, and they didn't want to say that. Like, they didn't know what the title was, or something.
No, Andre, in Japanese, it's because the title is Zelda is Dead.
Could you imagine?
I do. Right. Before we forget, we do have 2 super chats.
Awesome.
Nice.
Universal Juan, and I think they're responding to when I asked, has Nintendo ever done like, oh, here's a game, it's out in 2 weeks, announced. They said Origami King Twitter to release in like a month. Well, that was during COVID time, and they did a lot of those Twitter drops. So I don't know if that, like, I wouldn't say I don't know if it counts, but that was just a different time in general. They didn't even have like a general direct at all in 2020. So I don't think they did. It was all mini and partner showcases.
I mean, there was that Mario direct, and then the release 2 weeks later.
Yes, that's true.
In the same year.
I know, but and that's when I said that was the exception.
Yeah.
I was asked if they did anything besides that one, but yeah, they could always do it again. That's true. And then Nintendo Talk with 45 says, the direct you had earlier today was better than the Nintendo one. I laughed so hard, the jokes were spot on.
Yeah, yes! That's awesome. That was a funny one. I've watched like 3 more times myself.
Yes.
Here's kind of like a silly question for you all. Before this direct happened, we were wondering if the rumored Wind Waker Twilight Princess things would be together, if they'd be $60, how they would do all that. It's funny to me that we get this Kirby game announced that's a remaster of a Wii game, and that game's 60 bones.
So
yeah.
The situation in Europe and Japan is funnier. So in Europe and Japan it was called Kirby's Adventure Wii.
Okay.
In Europe, it now has the American name. In Japan, it's still called Kirby's Adventure Wii Deluxe.
Wait, really? Like on the Switch, it's called Kirby's Adventure.
Yeah.
Well, this is the same company that said New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, so like I'm not totally shocked.
My favorite is still when as you guys may know, Mario 2 here was actually a game called Doki Doki Panic in Japan.
Yes.
No way! Stop it! You're blowing my mind, Andre.
Every time.
About Kirby's Adventure Wii, I just said on Twitter, revisionist history. Now it's called Kirby Back to Dreamland.
See, they should call it Kirby USA to mimic the Mario 2 thing when he went back to Japan.
Oh, no, it's just called Kirby Adventure Wii Deluxe, just like in Japan, if they're that brave.
We got another super chat here from Lego Fan. Thank you, Lego Fan. It says, do you think we'll hear more about Tears of the Kingdom at Game Awards this year? I'm hoping we'll get a full gameplay trailer by the end of this year.
No.
I think so.
I think
so too.
I don't think so. I think if the game came out in March, we would, but it's coming out in May. So
Didn't we get that Zelda Wii U blowout like a couple of years before it released at the Game Awards? So it's not possible.
yeah.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking?
When they did the whole gameplay demo,
they
of
sat
Zelda
down
Wii
on
U.
the couch.
Yeah.
The sort of gameplay demo where they just had it on the screen away from Miyamoto and Onuma.
That may have been, to be fair, that may have been before it was known as the Game Awards. That may have been the Spike thing then still.
No,
it was the Game Awards.
It was the Game Awards.
The first Game Awards.
And that was also when they thought the game was coming out in 2015 too. I also think Nintendo is. I don't know if Nintendo is a fan of showing up at the Game Awards too. So there's that.
Funny enough, they mentioned both Star Fox and Zelda then, and both games got delayed respectively.
No, the best part was when they announced that that Zelda would come out before Star Fox, and it totally didn't.
Well, no, they said Star Fox would come out before Zelda.
No, there was something weird about it. They said something.
Yeah, there was something weird about it.
Yeah, that isn't quite right. They said something, to my memory at least, that they definitely
said,
didn't follow up on.
I've watched this video so many times. They said, how's Star Fox going? Oh, it's going well. You can play it before Zelda U next year.
All right, what I heard. Maybe my memory's off then.
I kind of think that Nintendo does like the Game Awards, and I do expect to see it there. And my prediction would be that it's going to look a lot like the start of it, the video that we saw in this direct, and then it will go on.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was we don't know it yet, but this was a teaser for what they're showing at the Game Awards.
I just want you all to be wrong so you can stop disagreeing with me.
I don't think we're disagreeing. What were we even disagreeing on?
Oh, that it would be at the Game Awards.
Oh, that yeah. I mean,
Nintendo. Maybe it's a bit of a hot take. I don't believe it's at the Game Awards either.
Oh
okay.
Wow!
Nintendo's
Yay, high five, Don.
Like you can't, you never fully know what Nintendo's doing. But the Game Awards is a huge audience, and that would make. I think it's a good time to start ramping up, reaching out to a demographic outside of the Nintendo bubble. If you want to reach people outside of the typical bubble, you don't want to put it only in Nintendo Direct. And I think the Game Awards just makes a lot of sense for what we know is their biggest upcoming game in the near future.
I mean,
let's be honest. I'll be honest with you. When is the last time Nintendo did something big at the Game Awards?
I feel like they have a
don't
little bit of a
remember.
presence most of the time, but I remember a few years ago, I was surprised.
Outside the Smash characters, those were.
Well, I was
pretty
surprised when sweet Jeff Keighley revealed Marvel Ultimate Alliance
That's
3.
right. Who could forget?
I was like, hey, that was cool, Nintendo Switch exclusive. I hate to say it though, because I don't want to get Joey's hype up, but though I could never. If honestly, the thing that makes sense to me is that if it exists, is that Metroid would be shown at the Game Awards.
I keep thinking that every year, and I refuse to believe it again.
It just makes sense. Like I get why you think that. So
It's a big America. Yeah, Metroid's big in America.
Yeah.
You'd think it showed at the Game Awards, right? But you know, the Game Awards these past couple years have just not been so great. And Jeff Keighley's shows, I mean, they're fun to watch, but I feel like they just don't get me excited as much as they used to now. Same with just Jeff Keighley's shows in general this year. Much respect to Keighley, but the shows have not been that great. And I don't expect.
Love Jeff.
Yeah, we're going way off on a tangent
The
here.
pacing of all the shows have
That's
never
true. That's
been
true.
that good.
We'll save the Game Awards talk for when we're closer to them actually airing. But
Octopath Traveler 2, Andre. Octopath Traveler 2. Let's
one.
talk. That's okay. The fact that we're doing it again, I felt like this game was not super well received, and I was a weirdo for liking it so much.
Really?
To see it here, that's what I thought.
I mean, it's a good game. I felt that the story bits about it were a bit disjointed, but for the rest of it, it's a really good game.
Do we know if it like sold well? Because I just didn't think that it.
I think it did.
Okay, great.
I think it did decently. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so to see this again, to have the 8 players be back, you pick the one you play as, to be able to like, oh my god, the fact, okay, people are telling me it sold solid. Okay, this is awesome. To know that I'm gonna have this experience again, it's like picking your first Pokemon, but you have 8 choices, and it's such a nice JRPG. I love that HD 2D art style, perfect for Switch. Couldn't be happier to see it here. That was a real get hype moment for me of this direct.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, go ahead, Joey.
No, I was just agreeing with him. Yeah, I'm not an Octopath Traveler fan at all, but it was great for Octopath fans.
Yeah, I think that's 2 things to keep in mind. One, like not every direct is gonna be for everyone. Like this wasn't quite my cup of tea on the whole. And I know for some it was. But 2 is the fact that even if the overall presentation like wasn't great or even good, that doesn't mean there weren't moments in there that weren't awesome, that weren't hype. You know, seeing Pikmin 4 was a real hype moment. It's like, oh my god, it actually does exist for real still. Or they're actually actively working on it. And seeing GoldenEye, even though I own the thing, it's like, that's awesome. That's great. That's coming to Switch finally.
I am so excited for that entire lineup of N64 games, except for the original Mario Party.
That's legit a shocking moment. Like that they're actually bringing out Mario Party 1 for the first time, and Mario Party 3 actually for the first time, considering there were lawsuits surrounding that game on the 64.
Yeah, are they going to include a warning before you boot up that game?
I mean,
they have to, right?
You would think, but I guess Superstars kind of does as well. Like they're like, don't spin the control stick or whatever. It's like, well, of course I'm gonna use my palm to spin the control stick. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do what it takes to win. Darn it!
I will lose my hands if it means I win.
Were you disappointed at all as a GoldenEye fan that it was a Nintendo 64 NSO title and not anything more? Did that spark anything?
No, because that would imply I expected anything more, and I didn't.
Okay.
Like I fully expected.
Yeah.
I fully expected it to come to Switch as an NSO game. I guess the related disappointment would be that the Xbox version isn't the remaster. That is the part that's maybe a little disappointing, but they're basically also just getting the same thing Switch is, with maybe a few different enhancements, like widescreen, I believe. So that part kind of sucks, because we know this remake exists. It leaked. You can play it right now if you know how to download things illegally. I've not played it. But that's a bummer that's still not coming out. Maybe it will down the line. Maybe this opens the door to that. But in any case, I think it's awesome that we have GoldenEye back at all. It's been locked on the 64, since then, like Mario Party. And that was a hype moment. It's like, wow, this is awesome seeing this back. And I think this upcoming 64 selection looks really good, especially with Halloween 64. I don't know why they make a bigger deal about this, but based on what we saw of the trailer, it's running at double the frame rate now, and that's sick. That's awesome.
I'm more excited about Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2.
Me too.
I will say this, though. You have the Gym Leader Castle in 2 with all the 16 gym leaders. That is going to be really difficult without having imported Pokemon, because doing with rental Pokemon is beyond brutal.
Yeah, it's funny. There was that little statement we reported on it that was like, "Oh, you can't transfer Pokemon into this game." And I read that and I was like, "Do you mean forever or just now?"
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like forever. So that's really disappointing because I know we were
That's
talking
the
about it. Yeah, please.
part that sucks. I think a Game Boy were on the way, or at least if it were to have transfer pack support, it would have been here. Or Pokemon Stadium wouldn't have appeared yet. So this suggests to me that not only, I mean, best case, there's no plans to have compatibility between Pokemon on the Game Boy. Worst case, Game Boy's not in the cards anytime soon for NSO, and that'll be even more disappointing. So I
Right.
hope it's just a former, but
Yeah, but even then, not having the possibility of transfer any Pokemon over will be really brutal for those
Yeah.
in-game fights because a lot of those Pokemon don't have the most stellar of moves in the rental system.
but you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jake.
And it's also just that's like the heart of the game. That's like I think why the game was that a silly thing to say?
Yeah, the heart of the game, Jake, is those mini games. Freaking yeah, the jumping game with
Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
You're right. Those are fantastic. I agree.
The
Those
sushi
are
eating
and
game.
and I think that's why those were kind of spotlit when they announced that these
Yeah.
games were coming in that little highlight
Yeah,
reel.
for sure.
Yeah, because that is I think what these offer on NSO, and it is super exciting. But I had a crazy thought, and I want to know. Tell me right now, you three, is this Jake you're being crazy, or Jake you're starting to make sense?
Okay.
Is part of the reason why we're not gonna see Game Boy on NSO because they like to sell with each console those special controllers, and like there's some weird like they want to have like a version of the hardware with the virtual console, and like we're not gonna see a Game Boy, like we would sooner see a Game Boy Classic than a Game Boy controller for the Switch.
I mean, there was a specific Game Boy player controller, but it wasn't made by Nintendo on a GameCube.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's a significant.
Yeah.
factor here.
All right, just checking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
sure,
love
sure.
though.
I mean, you did make a good point, kind of, but
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if that's the reason why we haven't seen it. I also just kind of don't want it. I want Game Boy Advance.
I feel like it's a stepping stone to Game Boy Advance. Like I feel like without GB and
That's
GBC,
true.
you're not getting GBA. So, yeah, I
It's
want.
weird that we're 5 years into the Switch and we still don't have it, but yeah.
You know, yeah, look how long it took just to get Super NES and NES games just by being announced before launch.
I
of the Switch.
know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, look at the way that these N64 titles were being rolled out, even amidst this direct. The
Yeah.
direct, it doesn't give us one immediately, which is a crime. And I feel like the announcement of the games, I feel like we could look at that chart and just go month by month and tell you when they're gonna come out.
Yeah,
And like, what are you doing? Like, what kind of announcement is that? Like,
It is
to
strange.
just- yeah.
yeah.
Like either just say it or like I don't know. It's not like it's not a direct announcement. It's a here's some future tweets.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They want to maintain like some aura of mystery around it. So like when they do announce it, it's kind of a surprise. You know, it's like, oh hey, Pokemon Stadium out now, or will be in a few days or whatever, right? Whereas I guess it's less eventful if you know about it in advance. Yeah, it's Nintendo.
Well, we need to start capturing comparison footage, Andre.
Yeah,
Get
that's
ready.
right. I know. Well, I was happy to see that Pokemon Stadium is at least next year. But I have to go grab that game for my sister who has it. But they did at least give us a year's though, Jake. I went back. I'm like, oh, okay. They actually did tell us what's coming this year, what's coming next year. I did appreciate that. So we had some loose idea. I just hope GoldenEye's on the sooner end of things. They did not date GoldenEye in the U.S. In Japan, they said 2023. But I don't think that necessarily means it's 2023 for us as well.
I heard somebody comment that on our 10 things or everything in the direct and tell you video that it just because it might still be 2022 here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I
Man,
hope so.
that would surprise me. I don't know.
But if it's this year, then that means that's still one of those 3 other that are coming this year to release this month, right? Because there's one per month when it comes
Right,
to
there has been
N64.
one per month, but there's only 3 games. I guess, yeah, if I guess GoldenEye would have to be if they maintain their 1 game a month schedule, right? Because there's 4 months counting this one left.
That's
So
correct.
yeah, so that could be it. I wonder what the next one will be. Maybe GoldenEye. That'd be great.
That would be cool.
Great. Fantastic.
A few things that are announced that we know exist that were not in this Nintendo Direct that were strange, right? Sonic Frontiers, Pokemon, Return to Monkey Island, Outer Wilds, Persona, Nier Automata. Like, is it weird that we didn't see these things again? Mario Rabbids was in the Direct, but I think it was the same content that we saw in that Ubisoft thing like a couple days prior.
I will say,
yeah.
I'll say with two of them, because two of them are from Square Enix. Square Enix, until December, is releasing a lot of games.
Right.
About 16 SKUs to the remainder of 2022. So they're focused on games that are somewhat further out, I believe.
Advance Wars and Tactics Ogre as well.
Oh man, Advance Wars. That's just tragic.
Yeah, that is. No release date for that yet, as Nintendo announced afterward. So,
yeah.
Real quick, super chat from the Bat of Bats. I'm excited for Pikmin 4, but no sexy pokies. Okay, I don't know about the latter half of... I feel like I've read that thing before.
What are you talking about?
No, the Bat of Bats loves pokies. We've been over this. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Here's one. Steven Breda, who looks like another YouTuber, I believe, says, I actually did a count. There were roughly 9 games that were exclusive to the North American Direct, but the Japanese Direct got 18 games not seen in the North American Direct. How many of them were farming games, though?
One of them was a golfing game. That's all I know.
That's true.
The golfing game. So, funny enough, we got also a game. Both games were originally on Apple Arcade. So one of them was Various Day Life, which was one of the day one games on there, which is from Square Enix, from the producers who made Octopath Traveler as well. So that's coming finally to console. Well, it came on Direct after the console. And then in Japan, there was a game called Claphands Golf from the people who made Everybody's Golf on PlayStation 4. I think it has a new name now, Easy Come Easy Golf.
Easy Come Easy Golf.
Yeah, it's now what it's called. But yeah, but it's the same game, so that's now out everywhere, but it was only, for some reason, only in the Japanese Direct.
It has, just so everybody knows, 3-click swinging.
Yes! The superior method of swinging.
I'm just saying, is there a $20 eShop game better than Mario Golf out right now? I like, probably.
I will tell you, because I played it on Mac a lot, it's a really good game.
There you go.
Really good
I loved Everybody's Golf.
Yeah, it's the same gameplay system as that. Completely the same.
And well, speaking of golf, we did get a golf update for Switch Sports, oddly delayed now to winter, which is strange.
Nobody plays golf in the winter. Nintendo.
Let's get real here, Nintendo.
I will.
The way that announcement came out, it felt like sad. It felt like I was like one of the weird ones where they were like, it's delayed. I don't know. It's really surprising because it felt like that should have come out months ago.
Yeah, I mean, they did say fall originally, so it is a little weird.
They originally laid out the 2 updates. So the first update came on time, which was the leg strap update for soccer, and then the additional ranks. And then the second update was always planned for fall, but now it's coming in winter.
Yeah, I wonder if, I just wonder maybe the scope grew or they just fell behind in development. I don't know. I do like that, that they're expanding it beyond what we expected. Having the survival golf mode, I assume kind of like bowling is awesome. That's great. That seems like a fun way of doing it. And, so I'm liking it. I don't think it matters too much they delayed it. I would prefer it sooner than later, but it's coming all the same. I was hoping they were going to announce more sports for it. Maybe I'll come down the line. Maybe this is it. I don't know. So I hope the golf update does well so we get more sports in Switch Sports.
Master Detective Archives, Rain Code. Is this on anybody else's radar but mine?
Mine.
Heck yeah, dude. From the people behind Danganronpa.
It's far more 3D than those Danganronpa games. It's more more an environment of space and more looking around with the detective stuff, and then going through the mazes, doing more action-packed stuff. It looks really interesting.
It retains. They had a game that was like about kids stuck on an island that came out maybe last year that I remember being pumped up as from the Danganronpa people, and that did not.
World's End Club.
Yes. That did not spark the same joy in me that Rain Code did. I feel like
Yeah.
this retains a lot of the elements that make Danganronpa like really interesting. You know, those like front-facing character portraits that are very like highly stylized, and they all have like a theme to them. That brought me a lot of joy. I was really excited to see that in the direct the other day. I feel like that's going to be a game that I'll pick up and play that, and I'm glad that I was watching something where they said, Jake, it's a Danganronpa thing, and it got me. So
To me, I'm the most excited for was like the new Tear Rhythm.
oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I love the Tear Rhythm games on 3DS. Like the second one, Curtain Call, is one of my most played 3DS games ever. I still play it from time to time. It's such a good rhythm game. They made an arcade version later, and it seems that now they're putting all of those acts into one basket and making a proper console game out of Tear Rhythm.
Right.
And adding DLC from other Square Enix properties down the line when that game launches. So basically, you'll get a big package of over like 500 songs from different Square Enix stuff, but still having like the gameplay elements of what made Tear Rhythm good. And then also like a 4-player multiplayer battle mode, which I'm incredibly excited for.
Any chance we get Kingdom Hearts tracks?
I think there's a good chance because the same company also made a Kingdom Hearts version.
Right.
Like
the
they also
melody
made
of memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
I got a question for Joey really quick. Joey, what was like your top game of the direct? I feel like I don't know. I
Really
was just
good
thinking.
question.
Yeah, I was
That
just
is-
like, well,
That's a really good question. It was probably Zelda.
Sure.
Just 'cause, like it's Zelda.
Yeah.
And you know what? Pikmin 4. As much as I've never beaten any of the other games in the series. I've played them, but I've never beaten them. Pikmin 4 was kind of hype for me.
Cool.
From what little we've saw of it, it looks really charming, really cute, and really gorgeous. Got that same sort of Pikmin 3 graphics and art style. And apparently, the gameplay is going to be like more from like the Pikmin's point of view, so like it won't be top down. Maybe that's the vibe I got from it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that game.
First person Pikmin gameplay. We can get eaten from the eyes of a Pikmin. It's gonna be
Oh
amazing.
Jesus! Pre-order canceled.
As you go through the
bashing your
entire
head.
entire digestive tract of a Bulborb.
Oh jeez.
Andre, is the word on the street with Pikmin games that is the reputation that Pikmin 3 is the best one? I'm like out of the loop on Pikmin.
I think that would probably be the wide consensus. I would say. I think I had the most fun at the time with 1, but I think 3 most people would agree is the best one, the most refined, and especially the deluxe version is actually really good, particularly with co-op.
Right.
That's great. I love the co-op in that game.
I will have one bone to pick though. When are they finally going to make bingo mode online?
That's the thing I hope they lean into with Pikmin 4. Make it a proper online experience, especially with co-op now. It's gotta be online.
Like, they didn't do it with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I still don't get it. Like, bingo mode is such a perfect
It's
thing
fun.
for online.
I mean,
yeah,
any multiplier in that game is perfect for online.
So I also have a question. So I downloaded Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Wii U. I didn't beat Pikmin 1. I got really frustrated with it. I might return to it, but I am wondering if I really am trying to play like Pikmin more before 4 comes out. Am I okay just beating Just do 3?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's right.
just do 3.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
if you really love it, then maybe you could consider going back, but you're not really missing anything by not playing 1 and 2 first. So,
all right, that's a relief.
there was a comment a while ago from Cinemi who said, "I respect the discussion and understand where you're all coming from, but at the end, I feel like it's much ado about nothing." And that kind of made me think. It's like, doesn't matter that we were disappointed. Like, ultimately, doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter at all.
You know, video games don't matter in general. There's more important things to worry about in this world.
I'm too disappointed, so I'm just here.
Yeah, you thought it was okay, right? Jake, doesn't matter that we didn't like it that much. Or
I think some people get confused sometimes. I saw a lot of comments about this in regards to my my little parody video. And like my being disappointed with the direct is not like I am emotionally invested and emotionally disappointed, but I'm disappointed as like an artist and as like an internet merchant. I just
sure.
Yeah, I'm like just thinking about Nintendo, and I'm like, man, Nintendo, the world is your oyster. You've got all eyes in the world on you for this Nintendo Direct. If you're not gonna do something good and hype and cool, do something weird, do something silly, do something fun. Like
the Wii U era is great for that.
Like,
so much.
Make people
My
talk.
Yeah,
Like that is all
I-
people want from these directs. All
That's-
they want is some picture that Pokemon is really good at this.
Yeah.
Just put something out there that you know everybody is
Yeah.
going to talk about, and you've won the day. Like, come do the puppets. I don't care. It's you can do so many things. They have unbelievable resources. Yeah.
You know what can bring this conversation immediately downhill?
Uh-oh.
The fact that they talked about Mario Strikers Battle League.
What game?
Mario.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness.
It's such a bummer. Like
It is.
That was a game I was
It
so
is.
looking forward to originally, and now they put out Pauline in the game, which I'd be normally really excited about. It's like I'll check it out, I'll play the game for 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it away again.
I need to get that Pikmin shirt. Somebody in the chat mentioned it.
Hey,
Sorry to derail
You
it,
can
but
get it. It's only $20.
Yeah, it's
25.
also it's,
25?
yeah.
Oh,
They
forget
also
it.
have an entire collection of that stuff available in Nintendo Tokyo with the Pikmin shirt and everything,
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
or the
listen,
bag and everything. Yeah.
I've never seen Miyamoto look sexier. I can tell you that. I like that shirt. Oh my god, 4? That is his number.
That Pikmin,
Oh
that
my
Pikmin
God,
segment was
man.
amazing in your redirect video.
Thank you. Yeah, on the subject of the strikers thing, it's funny in the summer predictions thing, I said there is no way they just reveal 1 or 2 characters every time because it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't add enough to the game. And I can't believe that the content strategy for that game is it's basically nothing. It's basically skins.
That's it. They're taking the approach that Mario Party should have been doing, adding like modular content. The problem is that the core of Strikers just isn't the core gameplay that I was looking for or wanted, and maybe other people are like and I'm happy for them. For me, it doesn't do anything. It's like it's a little addition to a game I will briefly enjoy, and then I'm not gonna play it until the next content added. And to be honest, I'm only gonna play it for the coverage. Like I'll cover it for the channel, and then I'm not gonna play it again. But I don't find the game that fun to play.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I love Strikers. I've historically loved Strikers. So that's such a
I
disappointing
think
thing
one
to say.
game that was kind of lost in the shuffle, which people should really pay attention to when it comes out on Switch, is Tunic.
Yeah, Tunic's a big one. For people
yeah,
who missed it.
Andre, you talked about it a bit too. Like both of us, we kind of weren't really that much into Tunic, because for whatever reason, it's a really good game. But for me, I was kind of just, I don't know, it just didn't hit me like as it. I don't know, it didn't click for me, I should say. A lot of people compare it to Zelda, and but it's more of a 2D Dark Souls, which is fine. It's
for me, it's a top 3 game of the year.
Yeah, a lot of people
Wow.
will like Tunic.
Nice.
So that is a big get, regardless of
It was made by one guy.
That's impressive. Yeah, that's even more
It
impressive.
is.
Can't let that.
Bibbidi.
Oh, go ahead.
Bibbidi Boop in the chat wants to know what could have made the direct good for you guys. And I just want to know, like, in a sentence or just like in a word, like what comes to mind. Because for me, I think it's what I was saying earlier, where I just want it to be a little bit more of a show. Like, let's say we keep all the farm games, but in between them, you have Doug Bowser and like 3 other Nintendo guys come out, and they're in full overalls, farm hat, and they're literally just like, I love being on the farm, and they're just like doing a little bit, and then it goes to a farm game. I would have sat there so pleased. I would have.
I can see the danger of this though, but like now I immediately got 1-2 Switch vibes, and I'm like, that's probably not the imagery they want out there right now. So I get why they're a little bit more conservative now that they're more successful, which is disappointing on the one hand, Jake, because you miss out on those fun moments. Like the Wii U and 3DS era directs were amazing. Outside, even putting aside the content of them, they were just funny, and Nintendo wasn't taking themselves too seriously. Whereas now they're very dry, very matter of fact. And I don't think it. Sorry, go ahead. Joey.
You know why I'm just like, this is why there's just an evil part of me that hopes the next Nintendo console does as badly as the Wii U. Because I want Nintendo to try again.
That's when you get the fun, weird stuff from Nintendo. That's a true golden era.
Yes.
Oh man.
I
get back to the question, like, what would made the Direct a success? Honestly, I think had there just been, like, one blowout of even the existing game, like, whether it's Tears of the Kingdom or Pikmin 4, I think my reception would have been a lot better. I probably wouldn't put it like in the great territory, but it would actually maybe I would have. I don't know. If we just saw like a 3 to 4 minute chunk of either Zelda or Pikmin 4, that might have been enough. Because right now, like as Joey was saying earlier, we Jake or Joey, like we don't know much more about Zelda than we did it before. Like we know it exists. We have a title and release date, awesome. But outside of that, the game, I actually have more questions than I did before. Maybe Tristan's analysis will help me understand the game better. And the Pikmin 4, once again, it was it exists moment. That was basically a marginal upgrade over what we saw in Metroid Prime 4. So had we actually seen the actual gameplay to make me understand why I should be excited for it, I think that would have been enough.
No headliner. I totally understand that. No headliner to draw the focus in. And without that focus, it leaves us going, I guess the focus was TGS.
Right.
I get, that totally, yeah.
And again, it kind of speaks to the branding. Like, had they probably titled it a TGS Direct or TGS Mini Direct, probably would have been better. It better received at least. And I don't know, it's just kind of weird to factor in how important like branding and expectations are, and how weird it is that we're also being manipulated on that level too of what we should. I don't know. It's weird. The whole thing's weird when you really think about it. Like
George G in the chat, Pikmin Bloom was the headliner.
Yes,
basically.
Stephen Broida brings up a good point. Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom were like table scraps of filet mignon, but hardly enough to satisfy. Yes, that is the perfect way to describe it.
To me, I don't want to know too much of Tears of the Kingdom, if that makes sense. It was more like with the one of Pikmin 4, I'm like, you really just showed 2 scenes and 1 image.
Yep.
Did Pikmin Bloom get the most amount of literal time?
That's a good question.
Time for
an analysis.
I don't think so, because I think that they spent more on Octopath Traveler 2 and Fire Emblem.
Okay.
But it was still felt like a good 2.5 minutes.
Man,
it was 2.5 minutes exactly. I timed it earlier, just to maybe a few seconds.
2.5 minutes that felt like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because there was nothing new in it. We knew of the game, and
the game's a year old.
Yeah, there's that too. I think over a year, or no, I guess it's about a year. You're right. Yeah,
probably. I don't remember when it came out.
Yeah, it's a little under a year.
It was around that time.
Like it made me. I'm so sorry we're talking about Pikmin again, but it made me ask: is Pikmin 4 here to cushion us wanting to talk about Pikmin Bloom? like because we had so little to show of Pikmin 4. Did they say behind the scenes, okay, the only way we can get away with talking about Pikmin Bloom is if we say something about Pikmin 4?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't see why. So. Man, why would Nintendo be so interested about talking about Pikmin Bloom so much? Like, I know it's a product that they invest in money in, but after a year, dude, you got to think of maybe something else.
Again, there's not really a game there with Pikmin Bloom. It's a passive game. It's basically a pedometer with functions.
Yeah.
You start it and then put it back into your pocket.
So, I mean, I hear you, Joey. Like, as a fan, it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. Like, we're obviously aware of the product. We, have covered it before. But from Nintendo's perspective, it actually makes a ton of sense. Like, especially if it hasn't been that big of a success, I think they have had, and partially, I think it's partially a product issue, partially a messaging issue, where they haven't really talked about it a whole lot themselves. I sometimes forget the game even exists, and this actually was a good time to remind people that it does exist, that they can play it right now, and to tie it into an upcoming announcement. So I think having it here makes sense. I just think as a fan, it wasn't that exciting, and I think they could have done it probably better than focus on it for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah, like we didn't need it. We didn't.
I know Nintendo Directs are meant to be marketing, but it was the most blatant marketing for 2.5 minutes I've ever seen.
Hey, maybe Miyamoto just felt it was necessary. Maybe Miyamoto himself said, "People are not appreciating this masterpiece on my phone." We don't know,
Yeah, and I think it is kind of preaching to the choir though, because it's like I feel like everyone watching a Nintendo Direct knows that game exists. So I don't know. That's just my.
He just wanted to show us his running routine around Universal Studios. Makes total sense to me.
That's true.
To be honest, I mean that's it's an interesting point, Joey. I don't know, but it's so easy to say like everyone I know is aware of this, but then you look at the directs. They reach millions of people. I don't know a million people. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know how closely they follow Nintendo products. Even our bubbles on Twitter aren't representative of really anything.
Sure.
So I do think it is probably reaching people that weren't aware of it or forgot about it, and it might be, like, hey, Pikmin 4 is coming up. Maybe I'll go check out this other Pikmin game in the meantime, right? So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to find out, like, if they get a bump from this, like, if we could see those numbers.
I wish they promoted Hey Pikmin instead.
Yeah.
Oh
there we
man,
go.
hey
Port that.
Pikmin, Switch port. Let's
What?
go.
That'd be amazing.
Should we wrap this up
we
and
probably
maybe do
should.
some? Should we do some grades?
Yeah.
Grades?
Grades? Are we throwing out numbies out of
let's-
10?
Yeah, out of
Okay.
10. Should we 10 or letter grades?
Letter grades.
Let's do letter
Let's
grades.
do
I'm more out of the 10 system. Can I do that?
All right, do whatever system you want. I don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever system you want, then I want to know how you're feeling relative to at the time the direct aired. So, if that makes sense. Don, let's start off with you. What would you grade the direct?
6.5.
6.5 out of 10. All right, so are you feeling better or worse about it than in the moment when it aired?
I felt about the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake. Actually, no, I want to stay on Jake for a sec. Joey, what are you
You want to
grading
sit
this?
on Jake? Okay. When I first watched it, it was a 5. When now that I went through the 5 stages of grief, it's about a 6.
6. Okay.
Yes.
I'll go next. I think, man, this is tough. I think I actually would go 6 for this. I feel marginally better about it than I did in the moment, but again, it's because I'm looking at it as a list of announcements and not the presentation itself. So I think if you look at the announcements, I'd actually give it a 7, but looking back on the direct itself, 6. So yeah, I'll split the difference, 6.5. Jake, how about you?
There are announcements here I like. There are games here I like. Even with that said, the way it was done, the direct itself, as opposed to other ways this could have been delivered, and even this exact content, the way it was produced, cut together, and the order of events, with all of that in mind, this direct gets a 4 out of 10.
Nice.
There it is.
I'm
Fair
surprised I gave it a higher score than you, to be honest.
No,
I mean, it's-
a 4 out of 10.
I thought you were a bit more positive on it than I was, honestly.
I like a few of the games in it for sure. The direct is bad. I wish I got these games as individual YouTube, Twitter announcements. The direct was bad. Yeah.
All right, well, I want to change my rating. I want to give it a 3.5.
Oh, it's not a competition, guys. Robin, it's a boy, I think. Is that a reference to that commercial? Asks, the whole direct is way worse than some of the announcements on their own. And I think that's basically it. That is basically it.
Yes.
As a presentation, it was kind of boring, especially if you're not a JRPG or farming fan. But when you look at some of those announcements, they're actually pretty cool. Individually, even if I wanted to see more of them. And that's where it gets so hard to grade these things. I mean, it's like this, rating a Nintendo Direct is like rating the trailer reel before a movie. That's basically what it is. And it's so weird, like, just the whole perception of Nintendo Directs in general, because basically what you're rating are advertisements. How entertained was I by this series of advertisements? And I don't know. It's very odd.
I think we can all agree, though, that like a huge thing for me is that the biggest games, the biggest hype things, they like barely moved the needle in terms of changing what I knew or how I felt about them.
Yeah.
And that to me was the biggest factor in like how could I give a 4 out of a 10 to a game that has the sequel to Breath of the Wild about it? Like, how could I do that? But it's because they didn't show me that game. They showed me a new title and some box art.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Guys, I'm not emotionally upset. We've been over this again. As an internet merchant, I am upset.
I mean, I think that is kind of a good point too. Like, I think when I was younger, I would have been more affected by this. But like now that I'm older and experienced, some might say jaded, it's like, it was disappointing. Don't really care. Whatever. I move on with my life.
Yeah.
I mean, the rumors, whatever ones that may be true, to whatever degree they're true, they'll probably come to get, they'll come out eventually. Yeah. I'm not heartbroken over it. Like, yeah, I wish I were entertained more for that 40 minutes, but whatever. It was 40 minutes of my life. That isn't that big of an investment. I'd prefer it were better. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
I just want to point out what John said in the chat. Nintendo is so much more than just Zelda. You're right. They're Metroid also.
Zelda and Metroid. It's all they make.
Yep.
So Elwin says, I just came here to say it was good and hyped to see this direct. I wasn't really disappointed. I liked it more than other directs in the past year. And again, too,
cool.
That's basically the subjective nature of it all. Everyone has different perception, different likes and dislikes. And what I may not like may appeal to someone else. And It's like how do you even like objectively grade something like that then? And you can't. Like there is no objective. Right. You can't objectively say this was good or bad. And that gets to how we review games here right now. Is that that's why we don't give numbers, because there is no objective rating you can give a game, and it just says you can't give a direct objective rating. So
there was one loser there was one loser with this direct, and the loser, of course, the insiders.
Oh boy.
But yeah, for me, like the direct was like a 5 out of 10. But if you look at the game list, it was like a 7.5. So it just shows the middle way, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Cool.
Actually, sorry, Jake. MM81 says they see 4 losers. So we just got owned.
Somebody in the chat, I lost the message, but somebody in the chat quoted me from our stream right before it started, and I said, "It's 40 minutes. How can we be unhappy?"
That's always the folly of this. Yep, that's totally it. You can't use length as a prediction of really anything, except for the fact that there will be that many minutes in the direct. So
yeah.
All right, I think we wrap it up here, everyone. We've talked about the direct longer than the direct itself actually was at this point. Especially if you consider all our other discussions. We're probably even done covering this thing. But everyone, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for more direct coverage, including Trish's upcoming analysis, which looks to be pretty beefy. Should be a really good one. Otherwise, keep it locked in GameXplain for tons more Nintendo and everything else here. We'll catch you later, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.